I'm Lily Mawhip, and when it rains, it pours. I'm standing in the rain, looking at the names on this polished gravestone in Holyoke Cemetery. There used to be one name on the marker, just Roger T. Mawhip, in all caps with beloved son in cursive underneath. Now, it says Roger T., and there's another name above it, Catherine B. Our family name Mawhip is big and bold at the bottom. Somebody put flowers in a little plastic vase beside the gravestone. I wonder if my dad did that. Maybe I did. This new me. I should have brought an umbrella. Mama, I say to the stone. It's me, Lily. I wrote you a letter, but it got all wet in the rain. So I'm just gonna read it, okay? Dear Mama, I miss you. I'm sorry I made you die. I promise I'll fix this. Please don't rot too much. Love, Lily. I pause. Roger, I didn't write you anything, but you're not there anymore anyway. Where did you go? Are you with Hecate somewhere? Oh, right, you can't hear me saying this. Love, Lily. I put the weg soggy letter under the plastic vase with the flowers in it. Hey, Lily, you want my umbrella? Asked Jamal, coming up behind me. He walked with me to the cemetery, which was a really long way to go, but it gave me time to tell him about the boogie woman and Hecate and the veil. I also told him that my mother hadn't died, that she survived the car crash, and that Hecate had done something to change things. I don't even remember her funeral. If you can't remember it happening, it's almost as good as if it didn't happen. I worry, though. What if I wake up one day and remember it? I don't deserve an umbrella. Jamal holds his black umbrella over my head. He's got on his yellow slicker and galoshes, so the umbrella wasn't even crucial to him staying dry anyway. You can't fight a witch queen if you've got pneumonia. I sniffle and can't help but cry quietly, making sure not to shake or nothing so Jamal can't tell I'm doing it. You sound just like her. I tell him after I've wiped my eyes. Sorry. Don't be. We walk back in the rain together. Jamal lets me hold his umbrella. I like feeling the rain on my raincoat anyway, he says. Next time you should wear a raincoat. Do I sound like your mom again? Yeah, you can stop now. At least I wore my boots. If I'd worn my sneakers, they'd be sopping wet in my socks too. I hate the feeling of wet socks squishing inside my shoes. Some rain got in the tops of my boots, but not enough to make my socks sopping wet. They're just a little damp. Damp is okay, squishy is not. Neither's pneumonia. As we get near the neighborhood, I see a dark shape at the corner of my street. It's dog-shaped. I feel a bit of panic at first, but as we get closer, I realize it's just a fire hydrant. I guess it wasn't really dog-shaped. Maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me. Mom would say I'm seeing what I want to see, but if that were true, I'd see her standing at the door when I get home. But I don't. I give Jamal back his umbrella once I'm on my porch. What are you going to do now? He asks, still standing in the rain. He tilts his head back to drink some rain right out of the air. I don't know yet. That's not entirely true. I have a bit of an idea. I'm just not sure how to do it. Well, if you want any help, let me know. He starts to walk away and then turns. I wish I could see the things you see. Jamal runs over to his house. He looks back at me and waves once he's there. I think he thought I was watching to make sure he got home okay, but he lives right next door and it's like 40 feet from the porch to his house, so I wasn't too concerned. I was just thinking about how I wish I couldn't see these things, and I'd gladly give it up and let him have it if I could. I wave back and head in. Inside, I finish getting out of my wet boots and jacket. I peel my socks off and toss them by the laundry room door. It's probably not where they go, but I don't care right now. My dad is waiting in the kitchen with his jacket on. He's got this look on his face like I let the cat out again, but we don't have a cat and never have, so I don't know why he would be making that face. Maybe we have a cat now, and I let it out because I didn't know it was there. I would think there'd be food bowls and water if we had a cat. I'm going with no cat. I wish we had a cat.
Where have you been?
He asks. I don't really want to tell him where I was. I was puddle jumping with Jamal. Smooth.
I walked the entire neighborhood, Lily. You weren't anywhere nearby.
He hands me a towel. It's purple and smells like flowers. I rub my face in it and imagine I'm covered in flowers.
We don't have time for this. Get your boots back on. We have to be at the therapist's office in 10 minutes and it's a 20-minute drive.
Oh, great. I have a therapist again? Lovely. Maybe it's the same one, Miss Christie, who I used to go see, only she died of an allergic reaction to something she ate. Maybe I warned her in this new reality. Wouldn't that be something? Miss Christie is alive, and my mother is dead. That makes me sad to think about. Stop thinking sad things, Lily. Can I bring Pasture?
What are you talking about?
He frowns.
Of course not.
That makes me sad again. I get my stuff back on and we hop in my dad's red VW Beetle. It's an ugly car. After my dad's old car got wrecked, he and my mom bought a minivan. I wish we still had the minivan. But I guess we don't need a minivan when it's just me and my dad. I hope when I figure out how to fix things and bring my mom back that we still have the minivan. This car looks like half an apple puttering down the road. And now that I think about it, Dad drives a lot slower than I remember. He seems almost nervous about being at the wheel. I wonder if he blames himself for Mom and Roger. He looks at me in the rearview mirror.
How many times have I said not to wander off without letting me know where you'll be?
I think 11?
54.
He states matter-of-factly. That's a lot. And I thought maybe guessing 11 would be high. I don't know if he has actually said that 54 times or not. I'm surprised he's managed to keep track. I would have lost count after 3, probably.
I don't like you playing with Jamal either. He encourages your make-believe too much.
Make-believe? What does he mean by that? He knows it's all true. We had everything worked out after Dad almost died last year and I basically saved his life. 19 minutes and 30 seconds later, we pull into the parking lot of a small brick office building. I've never been here before. Or maybe I have. I don't know anymore. That's something that worries me. I'm afraid that one day I'll wake up and remember all the times we came here, all the days between the car accident and how things have changed. And who's to say that's where the change occurred? Maybe whatever Hecate's done to me, this new reality, maybe it goes back to the day I was born. I don't even know what stuff I don't know anymore. It makes my brain hurt just thinking about it. My dad gets out of the ugly ladybug car and leans back in to look at me.
Are you coming? Dr. Clay is waiting.
Dr. Clay? We walk into a nice office. Everything looks like it's made of wood. I mean, some stuff is obviously made of wood, but then the walls have wallpaper that looks like wood. Or maybe it is wood. But from the outside, the building is brick, so I'm guessing this is fake wood. Again, I've never been here. I think I would remember this place. All the chairs are shaped to look like you're sitting on a big hand. Like giant hands are sprouting up from the carpet and you sit your bum on them. Some poor giant got his hands cut off and now kids sit and fart on them while waiting to talk to the therapist about why they wet the bed. I'm not one of those kids, don't get the wrong idea. A little old lady with white hair and glasses sits behind a big oak desk. She seems to be typing at a computer that's twice as big as her. Her glasses are equally large. It sounds like someone took a child, aged her 100 years, and plopped her down in adult-sized clothes in front of adult-sized equipment. When she sees me, she looks down her nose through her glasses at me. They make her eyes look 10 times bigger than they actually are. "Oh, hello, Lily," she says in a squeaky voice. "Running late today?" Dad mutters something to her that I can't make out. The little lady smiles at him in that way all sweet little old ladies smile at normal grumpy people. "Is the rain bringing everybody's spirits down?" Just as I'm about to say something about how much I like the rain, because I do, I love the rain, even when it's that slimy kind that comes down and sticks to everything, I love it. My favorite, though, are the summer showers when the sun is still peeking out and the clouds are rumbling because they're hungry, or because God is bowling, as some have claimed. Where was I? Oh, right. Just as I'm about to say all that, who walks in out of the other office but Felix Weaselman? His hair is neatly combed and he's got on a pair of glasses that actually make him look kind of smart, but it's clearly him. He's here in front of me, with his weasel chin and weasel nose and beady little weasel eyes. Except, he seems somehow less weasel-like. I don't know, maybe the gray business suit he's wearing instead of a nasty old dirty shirt and pants is what's done it. Or the way he's clearly taken a bath and brushed his teeth. He smiles at me. I want to hiss and reply. I don't know, it's like I'm looking at a different version of Felix.
"Hello, John. Hello, Lily,"
he says. "Weaselman!" I yell and dash behind my dad. Dad reaches behind himself and tries to guide me back around, but I will not be the human shield here. No, sir, you shield me, you're the adult. Felix cocks his head and reaches into his coat for a moment and just looks at me like he's having a vague sense of deja vu. That's where you see or do something that you feel like you've seen or done before, but you can't remember where. I get that all the time when I see things before they happen. A moment later, though, he seems to shake it off and smile at me with amusement.
"Feeling playful, are we?"
he asks. He can't mask that nasally voice. If anything else about this made me question whether it was actually him, the voice of the man who tried to kill my best friend Meredith is unmistakable. Well, okay, she's more like my third best friend. I hold my hands up like claws. I don't know what good it'll do. Maybe I can rake out his eyes or something. My dad isn't exactly putting up much of a defense, but then again, maybe he doesn't recognize the man who kidnapped him, locked him in the trunk of his own car, and then crashed it into a tree, putting him in a coma. "What are you doing here?" I snap at him. "Where's Dr. Clay?" Felix puts a hand on his chest as if to say, "Who, me?" But he doesn't say that. Instead, he asks my father,
"Has there been some regression?"
"I'll show you regression." I snarl and make to kick him in the privates. Rule number 1, always go for the privates. Dad puts his arm out and blocks me from stepping in front of him.
"What's gotten into you?"
he says, glaring down at me. Then he turns to Felix.
"She's been acting out for several days now. I thought things were going well, and then suddenly she came home from school and seemed confused, kind of lost. Didn't seem to remember things."
"Dad," I snap. "This is the man who locked you in the trunk of your car last year. He kidnapped me, don't you remember?" Felix shakes his head.
"We're back to this story, Lily?"
"It's not a story." "Well, okay, it is. But it's the story about the truth. It's non-fiction."
"Can we take this inside?"
my dad asks, looking nervously around the office. There's nobody else here except the little old lady, so I don't know who he's afraid of overhearing everything. Besides, not going into the closed room with the guy who burned down my third best friend's house twice and killed her family as well as a police officer is kind of my goal. I'm not budging from this spot. I cross my arms. I'm not going in there. So of course, Dad picks me up and carries me into Felix's new death lair. This is a nice death lair, though. I guess he has a cleaning service. He has lots of books on his shelves. They all have long titles and weird author names. And there's a photo on his desk of him at some sort of beach posing with 2 others. He's in swim trunks. Oh God, is he pasty. And there's a little boy with him and a lady with blonde hair and a smile on her face. The smile looks genuine, like she's actually happy to be there next to a man who looks like a weasel. I recognize the boy. I saw him once in a locket that Felix kept on him. It's his son, who died in a fire accidentally caused by Meredith. Have a seat. Felix gestures towards one of the chairs. They don't look like giant hands. I guess they ran out of giants. No. Dad grits his teeth. Lily? This guy almost killed me last year. I can't believe I'm even having to say this. He should be in the electric chair.
God, you see what I'm talking about?
Dad says to Felix, gesturing at me like he's offering me to him as a meal. Maybe he is. Maybe he brought me here so that Felix could eat me like the big bad wolf. This is a nightmare. I'm in a room full of books with my father and the weasel-faced killer, and they're acting like buddies. Felix strokes his chin. They both sit down and then look at me as if they're waiting for me to join them, but I won't. I'm not going to let this be normal. I'm going to go stand over here by the door and wait for them to not be paying attention so I can escape.
Well, like I said, she came home from school a few days ago and seemed confused. She didn't say that anything happened at school, but I don't expect her to, even if something did.
Felix nods as he listens. I hate that he looks like an average person and not a greasy snake. He looks at me and smiles. Oh, yuck, don't smile at me. I scowl back at him and stare daggers. Dagger stare.
Lily, did something happen at school this week?
Stare, stare, stare. They want to know what's going on. Okay, I'll tell them. You want to know? Fine, I got attacked by a witch in her closet realm when I went to the nurse's office. Both of them raise their eyebrows and look at each other. Then they look at me again.
Why didn't you tell me this before, Pumpkin?
Dad asks. His face says, Of course you did, sweet Lily. You don't sound crazy at all. Here's a needle. We're going to stick it in your arm and put you in a quiet room where the walls are made out of pillows. Night-night. Because you never believe me.
What was the witch's name?
Felix crisscrosses his fingers and rests his head in his hands. I can see from his expression that the tone of concern in his voice is fake. Fake! He's a phony pretending to be a doctor. Hecate, I mutter. And you know what? She blames me for her hallway exploding because of you. You! Because of all that stuff last year where you tried to kill Meredith. Felix opens his mouth like he's about to say something back. Maybe he's going to say, I'm sorry. Yeah, right. Instead, he says nothing, but pinches his mouth between his fingers and leans back in his chair and nods over and over again like one of those bobble-headed dolls people put on the dashboards of their cars. I wish he was a bobblehead so I could just pull his head right off and watch the spring stick out of the top of his neck. He reaches into his coat for a moment like he did before and seems to search for something. He sees me watching him do it, and for a moment I see a hint of anger. Then he pulls his hand out and scrunches up his mouth in thought. I see, he finally says. So that's how this ties into your previous fantasy. He nods at my dad. I am once again the antagonist of her story. It's not a fantasy! I run over and grab Dad's sleeve. I give him my strongest stare. On a scale of 1 to 10, this stare would be like a 9, maybe even a 9.5. We're doing decimals in math class. I don't care if Felix pretends to be a therapist, I just need to convince my dad. Come on, Dad, please. For once in your life, believe me. He looks at me with the same sad face he always used to have. Before Hecate, we had finally bonded. We were getting along. He was teaching me drums. Now, it's like all of that has vanished. Felix pulls out a folder from one of the drawers in his desk and starts thumbing through it. He glances up at me every now and then, making sure his glasses are down his nose a bit so he can look down his nose at me. I think he's doing it on purpose. Nobody's glasses keep slipping down their noses like that unless they've got the wrong glasses on. Has she been taking her medication? He asks. Dad looks at me with concern again. I
Think so? You think so?
Felix turns his nose to my father. Ha, Dad! Now you're getting the look instead of me.
Well, my job keeps me out late.
Dad shrugs sheepishly. That's a weird way to describe it because sheep can't shrug. I don't think they even got shoulders. I can't imagine not having shoulders. How would you even indicate to someone that you don't know or care about something if you got no shoulders to shrug?
I haven't even been home when she went to bed most nights. She said she was taking the pills.
What pills? I'm not on any medication. Dad sighs.
Oh boy,
Felix says, closing the folder and leaning back in his chair again.
Lily, we talked about this. The pills were helping you focus.
I don't know what you're talking about. I look at Dad, but he looks away. This isn't how things are supposed to be. Hecate changed everything. Felix clears his throat, then holds up some papers from the folder he had out.
How about a brief refresher? Ahem. Lily has developed a fantasy where her mother survived a fatal car wreck. Should I be in here for this?
Dad interrupts him.
You should probably go, yes.
No! I yell and pull Dad, trying to make him sit down again. He stands up anyway because he's an adult and I don't have the strength to hold him down. Dad, stay! He kneels down and hugs me, and then looks me in the eye and gives me his strongest stare. Mine was a 9.5 if I'm being honest. But his is like a 12. I want him to teach me how to stare like that.
You need to stay here and talk to Dr. Clay, Lily. Do what you're told.
But Dad,
do it, Lily.
He uses his tone that says I will take everything you love that you have left away if you disobey me. I know that tone well. And then he gets up, looks at Felix, nods, and walks out of the room to the other room with all the wood and the little old lady. I want to be the one out there. Not in here with this new version of Felix. Felix, who tried to murder my third best friend, Meredith. Felix waits for him to shut the door and then looks at me.
Shall we continue?
He starts reading from the paper again, sounding like he's droning off a shopping list.
Ahem. Lily has developed a fantasy where her mother survived a fatal car wreck 1.5 years ago. She imagines divine voices warn her of imminent danger to those around her, and that she has met others with similar superpowers who she—
It's not a superpower, I mutter. It's a gift. You know that. You have one too. Felix looks at me quietly for a long moment. Then his expression changes to that of a dog trainer watching their dog pee on the floor instead of the doggy pee pads.
Apologies,
he says.
Others with similar gifts who she has teamed up with to fight an overarching nemesis by the name of Samuel.
Samuel. He makes a pity face at me. I can't stand seeing Felix Weaselface Clay look at me with pity. I know how this sounds, I tell him, and I'm not stupid. I know what's going on. You aren't you because you're new you, and my mom is dead now, but she wasn't before. But I've still got Pasher, which means Meredith probably still has her melted angel Barbie, whose name I forgot. Felix starts scribbling down notes on the paper he was reading from.
Yes, Meredith. You've mentioned her before.
So you probably still have Raziel still in your locket. Felix pauses and scrunches up his forehead.
Did you say I have rice cereal in my pocket?
What? No. He blinks, then shakes the confused look off his face.
I thought that was a rather strange thing to declare.
I said you have Raziel, Raziel, in your locket. The one with the photo of your son Joey in it. Felix stops writing and slowly looks up at me.
Where did you learn about my locket?
I cross my arms and glare at him. You showed it to me when I was at the hospital with my mother getting my brain examined last year. He reaches into his jacket again. That's what he's been doing this whole time, touching the locket. He always keeps it on him, except when he threw it at me when we finally faced each other last year. Then Samuel took it from me to give to someone else. But that was then, and this is now. He must have it again. You still have it, don't you? I ask him. Felix pulls out the locket and holds it in his hand, looking at it, then me, then it, then me. His eyes seem to glaze over for a moment, like I get at the pet store when I'm looking at the animals I want to adopt. Then he snaps back to looking normal, but gives me an utterly confused look with a level 2 stare.
I've never shown this to you. I would ask if you went through my personal items, but...
But you already know, because you know things. Things people don't want to tell you. Secrets.
What is this?
I didn't think Felix could get paler, but he gets paler. Like super pale. If paleness were a superpower, he'd be like the incredibly pale Hulk. He starts tracing the air with his eyes as if someone put a giant book in front of him and he's trying to read it. But there's nothing there.
I don't understand. I could sense it when you came in the door today. We've been having these sessions for over a year, but I knew the things you told me were your imagination. And yet today I know they're not.
Oh God, I hate what I'm about to do. Mr. Dr. Clay? I need your help to stop Hecate. Felix nods and looks at me grimly.
Yes. Yes, you do.
Hey there kids, it's me, Mrcreepypasta, and I wanted to give you a big thank you for watching tonight's video. And I only say video if you guys are watching on YouTube, because otherwise, thank you for subscribing to the podcast that you can get on Spotify, or on Apple's podcasting, or on Google podcasting, or wherever you guys get podcasts. Something I wanted to tell you about tonight before we end tonight's video is the Etsy shop that my wife runs. She runs a mixed tea shop with many different blends, including creepypasta blends, and it's etsy.com/shop/ivory-monocle-tea. And now, for patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta, which you can always find in a link in the description, I want to give you all a very big thanks. There's many of you down there in the descriptions who I give big thanks to, and everybody also at this tier, like Dr. Strawberry, Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Ken, Lando Higuchi, Brianna Van Tine-Janzen, Chompski, TheRedOakShieldVirus, Sindee Barney, G Weevil 3, Diana Kraus, Stephen VanHuss, Tristain Pelton, Nico, kaeo, TheGingerBroz, Dante Rowe, Raphael Rodriguez, Lastbladesong, Meulmeester, Eliminator 86, Nebsky, SteampunkSinner, OptimisticAvacado, Kaleb Dougal, Daniel Poulsen, Finley, and Sky Harbor. You guys are the MVPs, and you guys keep the channel running, and I honestly cannot thank you enough for all that you do. That's all for tonight, guys. Sweet dreams.